Everyone loves a good Hollywood monster, so why not a good bad Hollywood monster? From Bangladesh. These aren't really the best worst of them, but videos need titles, and here are some of what I think are the funniest goofy monsters from the 1980s. Doesn't work on a thumbnail. Hundreds of great monsters could have come up, but these are the ones that did. The only rule here is start with Dondola.
What the hell was that?
The most vicious creature to ever span the intergalactic void has come to pay its respects. Night Beast, terror from beyond.
Night Beast is the second entry in the loose trilogy of low-budget sci-fi movies that came to define the career of Baltimore independent Dondola. And like the other two, it's about an alien that lands in rural Maryland and kills a bunch of people. Also like the other two, this leads the locals to freak out, get drunk and chase it about the woods with shotguns. And sticks. The monster itself was created by John Dodd, who went on to a legitimate career in real movies, and he did a fair job considering the budget. It's not as good as the one from Dola's earlier Alien Factor, but it's better than the one from the later Galaxy Invader, which is another fine movie, but the all-foam rubber suit isn't very interesting.
I see what you mean.
The face struggles with the kind of lack of articulation big features like this require, but a bigger problem might be the way Dola shoots it. It's never really lit or framed sympathetically, and it's always jumping out at people in ways that seem silly. Like most of Dola's movies, Night Beast is indescribably charming though.
You know you're a very attractive girl, Lisa.
This was a filmmaker forever stuck in the 50s, which is reflected in the simplicity and warmth of his work. Even his teenage bad boys seem to have come from a simpler time.
Keep moving, Drago, before I run you in for disturbing the peace.
Hey, I'm scared to death. A big tough sheriff might just try to take me off my bike.
Stay out of my way, Drago. I'm in no mood for your crap.
You know what I say, Sheriff? Go to hell.
As if to prove that anything can be a monster if it's big enough and has a second head, Brett Piper's Mysterious Planet utilizes a snail to terrify accidental visitors to its alien world. Unfortunately, the movie doesn't have any sound design, and it's striking how dull and uninvolving everything is without any real effects or music. That was an explosion. The main way in which Mysterious Planet opens the door to failure is its ambition, and in a way that's unfortunate, but it's also part of why it's appealing. This thing's even more DIY than Night Beast, but it thinks it's a Ray Harryhausen epic. Sure, the lack of detail on the stop-motion characters makes them look like electron microscope images of lice, but at least there is stop-motion. The sound really does become an issue though. It's not something I talk about much, because the kind of movies I watch, I'm just glad if you can hear what people are saying. But much of the time you can't in Mysterious Planet, and believe it or not, it's usually because the ADR is layered over the on-set dialogue.
The war had already been going on for 300 years. He wanted the slaughter to stop.
What right had one man dictate terms to the entire planet? He would have made him ruler of the entire solar system.
Meanwhile, in Southeast Asia, it wasn't Ray Harryhausen knockoffs causing a commotion, but the flying head with guts.
We've got to try and stop the body joining the head. If she succeeds in reuniting her body with her head, we'll never control her.
In Balinese folklore, the flying head with guts is called a layak, and it's a cannibalistic black magician with a hunger for babies and a largely pointless party trick. There are similar myths throughout Asia. This is Taiwan's The Witch with Flying Head, which has a particularly good run at the idea. And the Penanggalan, as it's most often called, seems to be particularly popular in Thailand, while there are also variations on the theme, like in the Philippines in Paktita. Mystics in Bali is the best of them though, largely due to it being the only one that's readily available and dubbed into English.
According to the information we've got, it seems that this thing was a flying head.
That was done because it was made in a deliberate attempt to crack the Western market, something that probably wasn't helped by the baby eating. But it's why Jalil cast a passing German backpacker in the lead instead of a local actress. He used the same trick 8 years later for Lady Terminator.
Will you stop calling me lady? I'm not a lady, I'm an anthropologist.
Rawhead Rex has a similar problem to Night Beast in that its beast is a man in a mask, and while it looks kind of cool in a way, it doesn't move much. Unlike Night Beast, it isn't an alien invader but an Irish folk monster with ancient ties to the region and the lunatics who live in it.
When it's finished with you, what will it do with you?
Kill me. I hope.
Declan, for the love of God.
Get upstairs, face. I can't keep God waiting.
The monster suit was made in just 4 weeks by John Schoenrad, who's since created dummies and prosthetics for movies including Wonder Woman and No Time to Die. And its legend, which is kind of a heretical prophecy, is based on a short story by Clive Barker, who hated the finished creature costume more than anyone.
Crying cockle and mussels alive,
In Attack of the Beast Creatures, a group of survivors from a capsized cruise ship wash up on an uncharted island where they're attacked by beast creatures, and they're just the most delightful little things. The first sign something isn't quite right with the island comes when one of the survivors learns the rivers are full of ketchup. The real problem, though, is the beast creatures, who, like most of the monsters on this list, are technically pretty poor but also strangely charming, and remind me of a cross between the Warrior Doll from Trilogy of Terror and the Pontipines from In the Night Garden.
7 little Pontipines, all in a row. Where did all the other ones go?
I don't know. You see how they came from every direction? Must be millions of them out here.
Director Michael Stanley wisely kept shots of the beast creatures brief to avoid spoiling the magic.
Oh no, my leg!
In the year 2000, the people of Earth were amazed and terrified by the greatest catastrophe ever known to mankind, the reappearance of the dinosaurs. The Earth is ours!
Emperor Tyrannus is the funniest of the various Toho knockoffs on offer in Attack of the Super Monsters, but he comes with a whole battalion of subterranean dinosaurs, and they employ a whole array of special effects techniques. You're not watching AI clickbait, this is real, or as real as a clattering avalanche of movie fakery can be. And if the insane camera work and plethora of styles aren't confusing enough, anime was deemed the only means of preventing this Dino-geddon.
What you're looking at is a Tyrannosaurus, king of dinosaurs, the most vicious and bloodthirsty monster ever to walk the Earth. Now with its increased intelligence, it has become a super monster.
So cattle of the planets here are responsible for keeping a lid on the dinosaurs' plan, which is to take over the world by smashing it up. Tyrannus himself leaves much of the work to his minions, but he shows up from time to time to stamp on things and shout. If he looks familiar, it's because he was also in The Last Dinosaur. He's learnt to talk since then, but his vocabulary does remain limited. We have Japan's Tsuburaya Productions to thank for Attack of the Super Monsters, which is basically 4 episodes of TV series Dino War Eisenborg pasted together and dumped into theatres. The show really did combine traditional man-in-suit antics with stop-motion model work, various other forms of puppetry, live-action backplates and cell animation, and it's really striking how badly it all works together.
Humans are vermin and must be exterminated and destroyed.
It reminds me of my mother-in-law. What are we gonna do?
Gentlemen, I'm familiar with your weapons, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe you've removed your safety. Don't make a move now!
1980s Loch Ness horror is a curious anomaly in the annals of exploitation. Despite director Larry Buchanan's seedier proclivities and the fact it played on 42nd Street like legitimate schlock, the Loch Ness horror was classified PG and feels like a 1970s TV movie, set in Nevada. This isn't what the Scottish Highlands look like, and this definitely isn't what the people who live there sound like.
I want you to meet a new colleague of mine from the United States, Spencer Dean.
Oh, another Nessie watcher. Good God in heaven, don't you Americans ever give up?
Despite taking place entirely on and around Loch Ness, the movie was shot entirely on and around Lake Tahoe, and I don't think there's a single Scot among the cast.
The haggis is in the fire for sure.
The standout performance comes from one Doc Livingstone as eccentric local lord John McCarpenter.
What do these things mean to you?
Other than playing Farmer Number 1 in an episode of Little House on the Prairie, this is Livingstone's only screen performance, which makes his prowess with rolling R's even more extraordinary.
The summer people. Expensive gear, their boats and their platforms, the cost of which would feed an army.
It's easy to be distracted by the accents, but we're here for Nessie, which is a head on a stick, and the first film work of special effects artist Peter Chesney, another youngster who went on to create, if not bigger, at least better physical effects.
Stop the prime time, bitch!
Nessie's greatest achievement is just making her mark without a body and with limited screen time in a movie packed with subplots. There's one involving poachers who boast about their cutting-edge equipment, which is a kid's dinghy with an outboard glued to one end. Then there's another involving a pair of horny students camping nearby, and the main one about a visiting American scientist and his illicit romance with a local girl.
Is it true, Mr. Dean, that Americans spend a lot of time looking at magazines of naked women?
Yes.
The most baffling narrative, though, is all about a Nazi bomber that ended up in the loch after accidentally overshooting London, 500 miles away. This is the best subplot because it features the most Doc Livingstone.
Avoid the bay, and I wouldn't hunt for Nessie where the River Inn comes into the loch. All you'll find there is salmon. Start at the mouth of the River Fairgate. Fairgate. She asked me to marry her.
From Scotland's Sierra Mountains, we head back to Asia and Thailand, which means dealing with preeminent schlockmonger Sompot Sands. I could have gone with one of Sands' earlier Killer Croc movies, but they're not as much fun as they should be, and exactly the same croco beast is used in the much weirder Magic Lizard, which also reuses footage from those movies and the completely incongruous Giant and Jumborg Ace. And there's tons of stolen music too. So welcome to the world of Sompot Sands, a man who spent years using a forged document to try and prove he invented Ultraman. What Thai kids found to appreciate in this thing is a mystery. I'd happily see it torn limb from limb. So imagine my joy when completely out of nowhere, a water buffalo knocks it unconscious and shits in its mouth. This is when I started to wonder if the Magic Lizard really is a kids' movie. By the time we get to what appears to be a sex farm, it's apparent it isn't. But that begs the question, who the hell was a movie about a roller skating lizard made for?
These creatures have a power. They can tap into your brain and sense the things that you really want to do. What's wrong with that? They also try to kill you.
Earlier on, I said most of the monsters on this list are technically challenged but full of charm, and it's the hobgoblins who are an exception to that rule.
They're gone!
Waking from a 3-decade slumber and latching on to a group of teenage friends who hate each other, it's hard to work out what the hobgoblins' objective is, but it's even less clear what their abilities are. We see them being thrown at our heroes, who writhe about in a manner implying they're some kind of threat. But after that bit, everyone just stands up and leaves. This makes the hobgoblins up their game, with one turning into a sex worker and another apparently influencing the good girl to get all raunchy in a seedy club.
So let's shout.
It's me. Faking my orgasm for you.
Then that bit just stops too.
Why am I dressed like a rock video slut?
There are no conclusions to anything. After a while, all the hobgoblins just go back where they came from and explode. If you think Hobgoblins looks like a half-assed con job, you haven't seen anything yet, because I've awarded the #1 spot to Godfrey Who. explain the thunder, but the giganticness of the serpent results from a pet snake being exposed to some old science left in a fish tank. And because the beast begins life small, we get to enjoy a bonanza of diverse special effects techniques as it grows.
Daddy! Daddy!
Come on, get in the car.
Daddy!
Oh my God! Oh, fire!
Anyone familiar with Godfrey Who's work at Hong Kong's IFD Films and Arts will be hoping for a bold statement in editing from Thunder of Gigantic Serpent. Fortunately, it is indeed a cut-and-paste Franken-movie based on Taiwanese adventure King of Snakes, to which was added white actors and one of those familiar IFD dubs.
Once I get the formula, I will be in control of the world's food production. Think of the power I will have! Ha! Every nation on Earth will bow to my will.
It's worth pointing out the credited director is Charles Lee, which is a pseudonym for Lee Chu. But at most, Chu directed only the 20% of footage that's new. Xu Yu-lung directed King of Snakes, while Ho likely directed the English dub recordings and supervised the script and edit. He usually did, and his fingerprints are all over this thing.
I have a right to know. I'm a scientist. General, you're not thinking of testing on animals, are you? I object.
One of the actors is Pierre Kirby, a key player in the Hong Kong ninja wars of the 1980s, who became a lieutenant in the army Ho deployed to smote the legend of the sacred shinobi, and he gets a few good lines.
Go on, shoot. Make my day, bunk.
But he doesn't do much. Being trapped in the secondary movie, all he's really good for is phoning into the main one, and of course he never shares a scene with the snake.
Get that snake for me. We should have told the Air Force sooner. Maybe this tragedy could have been avoided.
That's it for now, but I'll be back with other decades if this one proves popular, so feel free to suggest monsters. The more obscure, the better.